In part 2, we'll talk about scientific facts and prophecies regarding this Revelation Second Seal White Horse Rider campaign and what we see in these 7 vials. So let's start to look at this.
The International Journal of Vaccine Theory, Practice, and Research published a scientific analysis of 54 COVID-19 vaccine vials. That included 45 of Pfizer, 7 of Moderna, and 1 AstraZeneca, and a single vial of Novavax. They confirmed the presence of 3 to 4 million self-assembling entities per milliliter of the COVID-19 injections.
So self-assembling nanotechnology injectables, that's not science fiction. There's a lot of patents with this technology, so it's a reality, and we see a lot of it in the medical field. Let's listen to Karen Kingston. She's an expert for 25 years in reading technical patents. She's a whistleblower from Pfizer, and she's really a very, very skilled expert in understanding these inventions.
So there's a patent entitled Modified Polynucleotides for the Production of Secreted Proteins. This is one of the master patents for what they're calling mRNA vaccines. Right in the abstract, it describes that the lipid nanoparticles have a particle size between 80 and 160 nanometers, and it contains modified mRNA encoding a polypeptide. It includes a cationic lipid, a neutral lipid, a cholesterol, and a pegylated lipid. What they're calling lipids actually host cationic charges. They host positive electromagnetic fields. There is no lipid in nature that does that. They're using the term lipid instead of nanotechnology. As you go through the patent in section 219, it explains how they are self-assembled nanoparticles, and they're fully programmable. Spike proteins were actually lipid nanoparticles.
So all the data and information Karen Kingston has on her Substack, where you can study this information.
It was very apparent per their own literature and their patents that contained artificial intelligent magnetic hydrogel, which is partially comprised of graphene oxide.
So it's important to understand what is graphene that she's talking about. Graphene is like a super material. It's carbon atoms in a hexagonal molecular structure. But like graphite is also that, but graphene is a single atomic layer, so it's a nano material. And it's the strongest material ever measured on a microscopic scale, so it's super strong, and it's a superconductor of electricity and of heat. Okay, and so this material, she talks about hydrogel. This contains graphene oxide, look like this, transparent.
The point of this was to end the human species, to create a new, as Elon Musk calls them, humanoids, like to merge technology into the human body.
So the hydrogel is something that connects man with machines in this Neuralink and other man-machine technologies. And despite being transparent, it appears as black because it absorbs all visible wavelengths. So here's a graphene-based hydrogel in various states, look like this. And it's curious, it's magnetic. A lot of people have had magnetic properties of them in the last years, right? And this magnetism can create clotting like this. Okay, and so Karen Kingston, she says that this is a dosage study. It's toxic, it's known that it's toxic, but she thinks that they want to see how much can it get in the human body before it's lethal. And we can also get it through other things like food and beverages and stuff like that. And some people that test different beverages and appear to have graphene in them. This is Coca-Cola Smart Water. So I would be cautious what I eat and drink. For example, Coca-Cola and Heineken, they're on the Bilderberg meeting this year, right? So graphene is found and it's very important. And let's look at this guy, Dr. Robert Young, what he has to.
Graphene is a biosensor. It means it can receive and transmit. So there's no shedding here. When someone's been poisoned with graphene, they become a human cell tower, and they're receiving radiation and emitting radiation, which affects everyone else around them. Radiation poisoning in combination with graphene oxide causes cellular disruption, disorganization, and death. Their cells are breaking down because they've been impregnated with graphene oxide through inoculation. Through graphene oxide is now being put in the air, in the food, in the water. I mean, and now, of course, you know, make it even things worse, is injected. And then when radiation is present there, it amplifies this thing.
So remember vial 2 and 3 of Revelation, like a blood of a dead man.
So red blood cells should be swimming in their own fluid. That's called vascular fluid. And the red blood cells should be even in color, even in shape, even in size. You
Right.
see how nice these red blood cells look?
Yes.
Now look what happens when they're exposed to graphene oxide and radiation. This is a reduced graphene oxide cluster. I call it a cluster bomb. And look what the blood is doing around it. It's clotting. That's what this does. Reduced graphene oxide in combination with 4G and 5G, pulsating at 2.4 gigahertz and up, causes cells to reverse their polarity, start clotting together, and they're attracted to this graphene. So they form clots.
So graphene is found also by other researchers. For example, this group, La Quinta Columna, where you can find a lot of data on their site. It's a Spanish research group, and it's led by a doctor called Ricardo Delgado Martin. And he talks about this people who have been riding with a white horse has actually MAC addresses. They're connected basically to the Internet of Things like this. They emit a MAC address, which is a media access control address, which is something that you have if you're electrical unity. And you can find this from people if you use a BLE scanner. They will emit a MAC address. You can test it yourself. So we see a lot of things align here with these technological things and what people say in prophetic dreams. There's many dreams. I have selected a few ones to just show what I found many times about these zombie dreams. Listen to this.
Like, I see a person that's getting sick or getting a shot on its arm, and it started to transform into a zombie. The next moment I knew one of the towers, like the 5G towers or something like that, was being activated, and that was causes that's what causes the people to act funny and act like zombie-like.
So connections to communications technology is often heard in these dreams.
And they've seen the technology begin to self-assemble. Engineers have been looking at the vials, the fluid in the vials underneath an electron microscope, brought in cell phones to see if there's a reaction. And what they found is that when the fluid that's in the vials is near electromagnetic frequencies, whether they're from smartphones or smart towers in a house, it activates this technology.
So these dreams often mention communications technology and gene therapy operations.
The V was involved, if you catch my meaning, in somehow, shape, fashion, or form. Well, I come up on a stoplight and I make a stop, and I have apparently the radio on in the car. Although I don't hear any music or any talking coming out of the radio, I come up on the stoplight, and as I stop, I hear this very weird signal come over the radio. It's like a loud screeching. It's like it's like, if you ever remember what dial-up used to sound like, well, take that and amplify it about 100 times, and then you'll get the idea of this type of signal that's coming through the radio. And I also got the sensation that it was coming through on the phone.
So he goes on to say that this generates zombies, and he really mentions a specific movie called The Cell that was very similar to that movie. And I'm going to show you that trailer here, but I'm going to overlay the audio from another prophetic dream. So this is the trailer for this movie, and I'm going to show you this clip here.
And it looked like a big hand was going to pull down this lever. And the minute everyone was aware that somebody was going to flip the switch or pull the lever, everyone started running out of the mall, like mass hysteria, pandemonium. It was like people were just running like super, super, super fast, jumping off the balcony in the mall, running down the escalator, stairs, just pouring out, just thousands and thousands of people running out of the mall for fear of somebody pulling this lever. And the fear was that there was something inside of us.
The conventional view from movies is that zombies are very slow and not so strong, but this is not what they report in dreams.
They mimic cells and proteins to the point that they can actually start building structures in the human body, tissue structures, anatomical structures. They can recreate entire systems and organs.
if entire body systems have been filled with this strongest material in the world, graphene, which is also is a superconductor, it may cause people to have super strength, which I heard many dreams say that these zombies had real strength. But they are flesh-eating, like in the zombie movies, but they also are said to have a hive mind. This is something I've heard several times. Here's an example.
Instantly, at one accord, synchronized, everybody like, you know what I mean? Everybody, and they not just made a look, but somehow supernaturally everybody dropped what they was doing and encompassed me like a circle. I got a circle of a bunch of people around me staring at me like with this mindless stare. And in my head, when I woke up, I'm like, zombies. Zombies are coming. From my understanding, 5G got a lot to do with it. From my understanding, that V got a lot to do with it.
So a hive mind would require some type of external signaling or programming, right? Take a look at this.
So Moderna says on their website that the mRNA are software programs, and they can be programmed, pre-programmed, or they can be programmed from outside sources.
Another feature I heard several times is that people have been scorched or burned by heat in this process of becoming a zombie. Here's one example. Listen to this, please.
It was almost at the end of the 7-year tribulation. I saw people who looked like zombies. Lack for a better word. Who looked like zombies. Now these people had blisters all over their bodies. They had boils all over their bodies. And it was like their bodies had been burnt from heat. And they had been scorched by heat. That is what I saw.
Note that he said that this will be at the end of tribulation. This is something I've heard repeatedly from these dreams. And let's just take one more dream, because this is someone who sums up a lot of things.
Whenever there's blood, they kill everything. They're hungry, and they just start eating meat. That's all they do, is they attack humans. Once they attack somebody, I seen a lady get attacked, and just one bites, and you see the blood spray. Other ones are jumping on her, and they're just like hungry. They're hungry, living people, but they have no sense. Like this thing right here, your whatever, and you know, that's in your body that most people took, all the metal and stuff, they fry everybody. So they make them into like a zombie.
So this feature that the zombies are attacking people, that they're flesh eating, that kind of conventional view of zombies is something we hear all the time from these dreams. But could really people be scorched by heat, by technological measures in this way, and become zombified? Let's just look at the words from Dr. Martin again from La Conta Columna. This video here is in Spanish, but you can read the subtitles. I think this is very interesting.
Precisamente aquí, en nuestro país, la Moncloa publicada la consulta pública sobre los usos de la banda de 26 GHz, una de las bandas prioritarias para la tecnología 5G. Y usted dirá, bueno, tenemos hasta 300 GHz. De 0 a 300 han ido a dar con un número que es 26 GHz. ¿Qué pasa con los 26 GHz? Pues con 26 GHz pasa que tiene el máximo efecto transistor de campo precisamente el grafeno, ¿vale? Efectivamente, transistor de grafeno a 26 GHz. Lo que se pretende es, si ustedes pueden compartir, por favor, la pantalla que tengo ahora, aquí. Transistor de grafeno a 26 GHz. Lo que se pretende es, no solo cuando la señal sea, desde el punto de vista óptimo, la más energética de las que hasta ahora hemos visto, pues el daño colateral, van a ver ustedes cuál es, multiplicado probablemente por 100, neurodegeneración o zombificación de toda la población mundial.
So graphene can not only be activated by communication technology, but it can also be immensely enhanced by the so-called field transistor effect at a certain gigahertz frequency. But Karen Kingston also ties in this to the field of optogenetics, which we just must mention a little bit here. Optogenetics is when you make a genetic construct and then you insert it into a virus, and then you can inject it into the brain like a mice, and then you connect the fiber optic cable and give a specific light impulses, and then you can control the behavior. That's optogenetics. So for this you use hydrogel, which we talked about before, and nanoparticles. So this is the same thing here in this technology, and this can trigger certain behaviors like the amygdala. It can make mice go into frenzy and want to kill and bite, and you can control certain behaviors by light impulses. And the light that it does this is a blue light. Here we see example of 470 nanometers. This is blue wavelength of light.
It all started with algae. In 2002, researchers discovered that a protein that causes green algae to swim towards or away from light is a light-sensitive channel. Blue light causes the channel to open, and positive ions then flood into the cell, much like the influx of ions that cause nerve cells to fire. Neuroscientists were quick to see the potential of these algal proteins. They realized that if they could get proteins called channel rhodopsins to work in mammalian nerve cells, they'd have a very precise way of controlling nerve activity in the brain. For many applications, this method would be better than drugs, which act too slowly, and better than electrical stimulation of the brain, which is less precise. Getting an algal protein into, for example, a mouse brain requires a bit of genetic engineering. First, you take the gene that encodes the protein, plus another piece of DNA called a promoter, and you put them in a virus. When the virus is injected into the mouse's brain, it infects neurons and delivers the gene. A chosen subset of those neurons will have the right machinery to activate the promoter, and in those cells, the algal protein is expressed in the cell membrane. To activate the protein, all you need is light, delivered via a fibre optic cable. It's the ability to target specific neurons in living, moving animals that makes this technique so powerful. And channel rhodopsins are not the only proteins in the optogenetics toolkit. In this fly, a different light-sensitive system is used to target just 2 out of 200,000 neurons. These neurons govern an escape response, the reflex that makes the fly flee as you move in to swat it. Here, a flash of light activates the neurons, making the fly jump and spread its wings. It can't take off because it's trapped in a petri dish.
So it's interesting that screens like cell phones, for example, have this blue light that we are getting from it of similar wavelengths. Another thing that I wanted to touch is how these nanolipid crystals can be made for drug delivery. We see this in the medical field, many inventions like this. But these solid nanolipid particles can be cracked open and from them dissolves a drug or another substance.
The patent is entitled Vaccine Nanotechnology, and in Section 9 it discusses the vaccine nanotechnology that can deliver molecules. In some embodiments, the small molecule is a toxin. The toxin is from a chemical weapon, an agent of biowarfare. This is a utility patent for the pegylated lipid nanoparticles that are in these, what they're calling COVID-19 vaccines. It is a utility patent for that nanotechnology to be used as a bioweapon.
So this is very similar to cancer vaccines in the same sense. You can inject yourself and there's something that can go into your cell and then it can be activated and kill the cell. But of course you can also kill a healthy cell with another substance. But what is important to understand is that this could be activated via some frequency response from the outside that triggers these solid lipid nanoparticles so that they crack open and they dissolve these substances by some frequency. And listen to Dr. Buttar, who many think was killed for what he is.
And so there's going to be a payload with some type of pathogen that will be activated by a sequence of 5G bursts. And these will be basically off of 16 to 18 gigahertz frequency, and it will be essentially 3 bursts that will be sequential and last a minute. And those will be designed, those bursts will actually create a signal that will release this payload. There's supposed to be 3 pathogens, and these 3 pathogens are, I'm not 100% sure what these pathogens are, but one of them is what they call the Marburg virus, which is essentially a pathogen that mimics the hemorrhagic fever, that creates a hemorrhagic fever.
As I understand, what makes this lipid nanocrystal open is that it's activated by its so-called cutoff frequency. But just let's look at another guy. This is from the Reese report.
It can boost gigahertz frequencies into terahertz, which is exactly what these new nanotech machines need for power. In order to do this, the graphene first needs a frequency to power it. And the optimal frequency to externally power graphene is known to be 26 gigahertz, which is also the frequency put out by 5G. In this model, the graphene within the body is activated by microwave signals in the gigahertz range, which it then boosts into the terahertz range, which then powers the novel nanotech machinery to self-assemble within the human body. Once assembled, what do these nanotech machines do? The images, compared to the scientific literature, suggest that they are the foundation of an internal electronic system with an endless potential for biomanipulation of the human host. Nanorouters that emit MAC addresses, able to be registered via Bluetooth. Nano and plasma antennas to amplify signals. Nanorectennas acting as rectifier bridges from AC to DC current. Codecs and logic gates for encryption of communication. The raw material for all this self-assembly is also graphene oxide.
So this technology offers the capability to deliver pathogens, but what I think I speculate about it has the capability to scorch men, to kill them, so that they can instantly be reanimated by spiritual beings like demons. But also in any case we know that it can modify behavior of the brain also. Let's listen once again to Dr. Martin.
El óxido de grafeno tiene...
Graphene oxide has a special affinity for neurons. Once installed in neurons, it generates an artificial neural network that gradually replaces the natural neural network.
Paulatinamente a la red neuronal natural. Cuando el tamaño de las
When the size of graphene oxide nanoparticles is less than 35 nanometers, they easily pass through our blood-brain barrier, a membrane that protects our brain from possible damage coming from the outside, and gain access to our own neural network. On the one hand, graphene oxide manages to break neuronal synapses so that our brain can be mapped and literally collect information such as memories, local thoughts, sensations, emotions, or feelings.
Sensaciones, emociones o sentimientos.
So these days, cancer drugs with vaccines are very much in fashion. This guy, Robert Langer, has many patents in injectable nanotechnology. And these bioweapons that we are discussing are very similar to the cancer vaccines, how they work. They inject something, get something into the cell. There are many predictive programming with zombie movies, but this one I want to show you, this is very particular from the movie I Am Legend. Check this out.
So what is this as big as it sounds?
I think it potentially is. I mean, it's very early days. So basically, they've discovered that if they use the same technology that they use for COVID, and they use some mRNA, which is a messenger part of DNA, they take your particular cancer, they biopsy it, they take some of the protein on your cancer, and they put it back into your cells.
How many people have you treated so far?
Well, we've had 10,009 clinical trials in humans so far.
And how many are cancer-free?
10,009.
So you have actually cured cancer?
Yes. Yes, we have.
And then this zombie pandemic starts. And note that it was very interesting here that we saw that in the movie there was this black woman news anchor and this pretty blonde scientist in a black dress with white polka dots. Yes, exactly how it was in reality when this cancer vaccine was first promoted on TV. It's also interesting here in this movie that we see one of the major scenes in the beginning is a deer hunting scene with a lot of deers. And if you remember in 2024 we had this zombie deer disease, and some people accused Mark Zuckerberg for a vaccination program causing this. So there's a lot of predictive programming out there. Also, and from reality, this CONOP 8088 is a zombies plan from the US military. Center for Disease Control have also Preparedness 101, a zombie pandemic plan, and they kind of were trying to keep it secret, and then they made a new cartoon version. Look at what it is the same. You're gonna watch the TV. They want you to think that we're going to make vaccine fast to solve it, and then they're going to put you in these camps where you're going to get your vaccine. So some predictive programming there for you. So on a final note, I would like to say that I think that people could be fried and killed in a way that the soul is dead, leaves the body, but the body will still be intact and functional, and that other spirits, demon, can reanimate, inhabit that body. Let me just drop some scriptures here for you pretty fast. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Therefore the fathers shall eat the sons in the midst of thee, and the sons shall eat their fathers. I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and daughters, and they will eat one another's flesh, because their enemies will press the siege so hard against them to destroy them. And then we see here Revelation 9:6, the fifth trumpet. In those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and the death shall flee from them. And then an inversion of that, Revelation 6:9, is also number 5, the fifth seal. And this says, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God. And later in the fifth seal, it says, they have to wait until the full number of their fellow servants, their brothers and sisters, were killed just as they had been. And then on the fifth vial, it says, people gnawed their tongues in agony. So I think you have enough pieces of the puzzle right now, and you see, of course, what's at stake at this great game here, and I think you also realize how evil the enemy is and how helpless we are without the Lord. So this is not meant to scare anyone, rather to really focus on seeking the Lord, and don't underestimate tribulation. And I pray that you will have not lost your peace from watching this, but that you are really strengthened in how important it is to seek the Lord. So I did this movie to the best of my ability. It took a whole work week to do it. It's not perfect, but I pray that you seek discernment from God and from the Holy Spirit about this. And God bless you all, and thank you for watching.